The crimson leaves of Kepler 742b danced in the alien breeze as Dr. Ethan Nash carefully collected samples from a bioluminescent fungus. The research outpost was barely visible through the dense canopy of towering trees, their bark an iridescent blue that seemed to pulse with life. As Earth's leading xenobotanist, Ethan had seen his share of extraordinary planets, but this one was different. Something about its ancient forests called to him, whispering secrets that had eluded humanity for centuries. His sample case clicked shut with a satisfying snap as he logged another specimen into his database. The fungus's properties could revolutionize medicine back on Earth, but that wasn't why he'd really come to this distant world. Hidden somewhere in these forests were ruins that predated human civilization by millennia. Ruins that, according to legend, held technology that could reshape the galaxy. A sudden silence fell over the forest. The constant chorus of alien wildlife ceased, leaving only the soft rustle of crimson leaves. Ethan froze, his hand instinctively moving to the portable scanner at his belt. Years of field research had taught him that when alien ecosystems went quiet, trouble usually followed. The attack came without warning. A flash of silver in his peripheral vision was his only alert before something struck the ground where he'd been standing moments before. Ethan rolled, his research gear scattering across the forest floor as he scrambled for cover behind a massive tree trunk. His heart pounded as he peered around the edge, and what he saw made his breath catch. A warrior stood in the clearing, nearly 7 feet tall, with skin that shimmered like polished opal. Her armor seemed to be alive, shifting and flowing like liquid metal, yet maintaining its form. But it was her eyes that captured his attention, they blazed like twin supernovas, ancient and fierce. "Show yourself, trespasser," she commanded in perfect English, her voice resonating with an otherworldly harmony. "Face your judgment with dignity." Ethan's mind raced. First contact protocols dictated non-confrontational engagement, but something told him this wasn't a first contact situation. This warrior knew exactly what he was. "I'm unarmed," he called out, slowly stepping from behind the tree, hands raised. "My name is Dr. Ethan Nash. I'm a scientist, studying the local flora." The warrior's spear, a weapon that seemed to bend light around its blade, remained trained on his chest. "I am Valera, guardian of the ancestral grounds. Your kind is not welcome here." "My kind?" Ethan's scientific curiosity momentarily overcame his fear. "You've encountered humans before?" Valera's expression darkened. "Your species' reputation precedes you. Destroyers. Plunderers of sacred places. You seek the Temple of Ascension." Ethan's heart skipped a beat. The ruins were real. "I seek knowledge, nothing more. I'm a botanist, I study plants. Look at my equipment." He gestured to his scattered research gear. "No weapons, no mining tools. Just scientific instruments." Valera moved with liquid grace, examining his equipment without lowering her spear. Her armor rippled with each movement, responding to some unseen command. After a moment, she straightened, her stellar eyes boring into him. "You speak truth, yet not all of it," she said. "Your instruments study plants, yes, but your true purpose lies deeper. I sense it in you, a quest for something ancient. Something powerful." Ethan considered his next words carefully. "The ruins, the temple you mentioned, they're part of humanity's origin story. Some believe they hold answers about our place in the cosmos. I'm not here to plunder or destroy. I want to understand." A flicker of something, curiosity, perhaps, crossed Valera's face. "Understanding comes with a price, Ethan Nash. The temple tests all who seek its wisdom. Many have tried. None have survived. Then why am I still alive?" Ethan asked, lowering his hands slowly. "You could have killed me the moment you saw me." Valera's spear lowered slightly, its light-bending blade dimming. "Because you are different. Your energy patterns do not match those of previous intruders. There is something the temple wishes to show you. Before Ethan could respond, the ground beneath them trembled. A low hum resonated through the forest, causing the crimson leaves to vibrate in harmony. Valara's armor pulsed with increased intensity as she looked toward the horizon. The temple awakens, she said, her voice tight with concern. It has not stirred in 1,000 years. She turned to Ethan, decision crystallizing in her stellar eyes. You will come with me. If you truly seek understanding, you must face the trials. But know this, if your intentions prove false, if you attempt to defile the sacred grounds, my mercy will end swiftly. Ethan looked at his scattered research equipment, then at the warrior before him. Everything he'd hoped to discover was within reach, but the price might be his life. Science had brought him across the galaxy, but what awaited him now ventured beyond the realm of rational explanation. I accept, he said, surprising himself with the steadiness of his voice. Lead the way. Valara nodded once, her spear retracting into a small cylinder that she attached to her armor. Follow closely. The forest grows dangerous when the temple wakes. Its guardians will be hunting. As they moved deeper into the crimson forest, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that he'd just crossed a point of no return. The humming grew stronger, resonating in his bones, calling him forward. Whatever secrets the temple held, whatever trials awaited him, he knew his life would never be the same. The ancient trees seemed to watch their passage, their bioluminescent bark pulsing in rhythm with the temple's call. Ahead, through gaps in the canopy, Ethan caught glimpses of massive structures that defied Earth's architectural principles. The Temple of Ascension was waiting, and with it, perhaps, the greatest discovery in human history. But as he followed Valara's graceful form through the increasingly dense undergrowth, one question burned in his mind: what had the temple sensed in him that made him different? And more importantly, would that difference keep him alive long enough to uncover the truth? The Temple of Ascension loomed before them, its crystalline spires piercing the crimson canopy like ancient fingers reaching for the stars. Ethan stood at its base, neck craned back as he tried to comprehend the impossible architecture. The entire structure seemed to be carved from a single piece of translucent material that shifted colors with each pulse of energy from within. Valara moved with practiced grace across the temple's threshold, her armor resonating with the structure's ethereal hum. The temple responds to your presence, she noted, watching as patterns of light danced across the walls at their approach. It has not done this for an outsider before. Ethan reached out to touch one of the walls, then hesitated, glancing at Valara for permission. She nodded once, her stellar eyes watchful. The surface felt warm beneath his fingers, almost alive, and as he made contact, the lights intensified, spreading outward like ripples in a pond. Remarkable, he breathed, his scientific mind racing to understand the principles at work. The material appears to be some form of responsive crystalline matrix, but the energy signatures are unlike anything in our databases. The temple was not built, Valara said, leading him deeper into the structure. It grew, shaped by the thoughts and needs of my ancestors over millennia. What you see is merely its physical form. Its true nature exists in dimensions your science cannot yet comprehend. They entered a vast chamber where the ceiling opened to the alien sky above. Geometric patterns covered the floors and walls, shifting and realigning themselves in endless combinations. At the chamber's center stood a circular platform, raised slightly above the floor, covered in symbols that glowed with an inner fire. The Chamber of Reflection, Valara announced, her voice carrying a note of reverence. Here, the temple judges those who seek its wisdom. Are you prepared, Ethan Nash? Before he could respond, the humming intensified. The symbols on the platform began to move, flowing like liquid light across the surface. Ethan felt a pull, an irresistible urge to step forward. Wait, Valara caught his arm, her touch sending an electric tingle through his body. There is something you must understand. The temple does not merely test knowledge or strength. It peers into your very essence, your deepest truths. Many have been driven mad by what they discovered about themselves here. Ethan met her gaze, finding concern in those stellar depths. Why do I sense you're speaking from experience? A shadow crossed her face. I underwent my own trial here, centuries ago by your measurement of time. It showed me things, truths about my people, about my role as guardian, that changed me forever. She released his arm. The temple chose to show itself to you. That means you have a part to play in what is to come. But the price of understanding may be higher than you're willing to pay. The platform's glow intensified, its call growing stronger. Ethan squared his shoulders. In science, we say the pursuit of truth is worth any price. I didn't cross galaxies to turn back now. He stepped onto the platform. Immediately, the symbols beneath his feet blazed with brilliant light. Energy coursed through his body as the chamber around him seemed to dissolve, replaced by visions that assaulted his senses. He saw Earth, but not as it was now. He saw it as it had been millions of years ago, when another civilization had walked its surface. He saw great ships crossing the stars, carrying the seeds of humanity. He saw the temple, younger but no less magnificent, and beings of pure energy working their will upon the cosmos. Through it all, a truth began to emerge, a connection between his world and this one that defied everything humanity believed about its origins. The visions shifted, showing him glimpses of a future where the knowledge contained within the temple would reshape both their civilizations. Then, abruptly, the visions changed. A darkness spread across the galaxy, consuming everything in its path. He saw worlds fall, civilizations crumble, and at the heart of it all, a choice, his choice. When the visions finally released him, Ethan fell to his knees, gasping. Valera was at his side instantly, her armor pulsing with concern. "What did you see?" she demanded, helping him to his feet. "Everything," he whispered, his mind struggling to process the flood of information. "The temple, your people, Earth, it's all connected. We're all connected. But there's something coming, something that threatens everything." Valara's expression grew grave. The Great Shadow. Then the prophecies were true. She studied him intently. "The temple has shown you this for a reason. It believes you can help prevent what is to come." Ethan steadied himself, his head still spinning from the visions. "How? I'm just a scientist. What can one human do against something that consumes entire worlds?" "Not one human," Valera said, and for the first time, a smile curved her lips. "The temple has chosen both of us. Together, we must unlock its deepest secrets before the shadow falls. That is, if you're willing to trust an alien warrior who nearly killed you in the forest." Despite the weight of what he'd seen, Ethan found himself smiling back. "Well, you haven't killed me yet. That's a start." A distant rumble shook the chamber, and the symbols on the platform began to pulse with increasing urgency. Valara's armor responded, its patterns shifting rapidly. "We don't have much time," she said, her expression turning serious. "The temple's awakening will draw others, those who would steal its power for themselves. We must proceed to the inner sanctum. There, if we survive the Guardians, we'll find the answers we seek." As they moved deeper into the temple's depths, Ethan realized that his simple research mission had become something far more significant. The fate of two civilizations now rested on what they would discover in this ancient place. And somewhere out there in the darkness between the stars, something was stirring, something that had haunted Valara's people's nightmares for millennia. The race against time had begun. The descent into the temple's inner sanctum felt like traveling back in time. Ancient mechanisms whirred to life as Valera and Ethan passed, illuminating corridors that hadn't seen light in centuries. The architecture grew more organic, with walls that seemed to breathe and floors that adjusted to their steps. "These passages react to genetic markers," Valera explained, her armor casting shifting patterns on the living walls. They recognize me as Guardian, but they're also responding to you. It's unprecedented. Ethan studied the subtle movements of the structure around them. The temple's biotechnology is extraordinary. It's not just responsive, it's adaptive. Learning. He paused as a section of wall reformed itself, creating a new pathway. Almost as if it's trying to tell us something. It is, Valera confirmed, her stellar eyes narrowing. But the message may not be what we wish to hear. The inner sanctum houses the heart of the temple, the source of its power and knowledge. No outsider has ever been permitted to see it. They emerged into a vast circular chamber that defied physics. The ceiling stretched upward indefinitely, disappearing into darkness. At its center floated a sphere of pure energy, pulsing with colors that had no names in human language. The heart, Ethan breathed, his scientific instruments going haywire at the energy readings. Before they could approach, the chamber floor began to shift. Geometric patterns emerged, forming concentric circles around the heart. The air itself seemed to thicken, becoming charged with potential. The final trial begins, Valera announced, her spear materializing in her hand. The temple demands proof of worthiness. We must face the guardians of the heart. As if summoned by her words, figures began to emerge from the walls, beings of pure energy given form by the temple's will. They were vaguely humanoid but constantly shifting, their features impossible to fix in memory. What are they? Ethan asked, backing up against Valera's armored form. Echoes of the ancestors, she replied, her voice tight with tension. Their purpose is to test not just our strength, but our understanding. Each guardian represents a principle: wisdom, courage, unity, and sacrifice. The first guardian approached, its form crystallizing into something more solid. It carried what appeared to be a staff made of light, and when it spoke, its voice resonated directly in their minds. Children of different stars, it intoned, you seek the heart's truth. But truth without wisdom brings only destruction. Prove your worth. The chamber around them transformed, creating a series of impossible puzzles, pathways that defied gravity, symbols that changed meaning when viewed from different angles, and challenges that required both human intuition and Valerian knowledge to solve. Ethan found himself working in perfect synchronization with Valera, his scientific understanding complementing her ancestral knowledge. Together, they navigated the Guardian's tests, each solution bringing them closer to the heart. But as they progressed, the challenges grew more personal. The second Guardian forced them to face their deepest fears. Ethan confronted visions of Earth's destruction, while Valera relived the moment she first learned of her people's true history. Your fears do not define you, the Guardian of Courage declared as they overcame its trial. But your response to them does. The third Guardian tested their ability to work as one, creating scenarios that could only be resolved through perfect cooperation. Ethan and Valera moved like dancers in a cosmic ballet, their actions becoming more fluid and coordinated with each challenge. But it was the final Guardian, the Guardian of Sacrifice, that presented the greatest test. To access the heart's power, it proclaimed, one must be willing to give up what they hold most dear. What would you sacrifice to prevent the coming darkness? The chamber filled with images from their pasts, Ethan's lifelong pursuit of knowledge, his achievements, his very identity as a scientist, Valera's position as guardian, her connection to her ancestors, her sacred duty. The choice must be unanimous, the guardian declared. Both must be willing to lose everything to gain what you seek. Ethan looked at Valera, seeing in her stellar eyes the same realization he had reached. In their short time together, they had formed a connection that transcended their different origins. Whatever they had been before, scientist, warrior, human, alien, no longer mattered as much as what they could accomplish together. I offer my past, Ethan declared, all that I was, all that I knew. And I offer my future, Valera added, her armor pulsing with emotion, my duty, my destiny as it was written. The Guardian studied them for a long moment, its form shifting between states of matter. Then, to their surprise, it smiled. The greatest sacrifice, it said, is being willing to make one. But the greatest wisdom is knowing when sacrifice is not required. You have proven yourselves worthy not by what you would give up, but by what you would preserve, your trust in each other. The guardian dissolved, and the path to the heart lay open before them. As they approached the pulsing sphere of energy, Ethan felt Valara's hand slip into his, her touch electric through his skin. "Whatever we learn here," she said softly, "whatever the heart reveals about the shadow and our role in fighting it, know that you have earned my trust, Ethan Nash. You have proven yourself a true ally of my people." Together, they stepped into the heart's radiance, ready to receive its knowledge and face whatever destiny awaited them. The fate of two civilizations hung in the balance, but in that moment, all that mattered was the connection between them, a bridge between worlds that might just be strong enough to save them all. The heart's energy enveloped them like a living thing, its countless colors weaving through their consciousness. In that moment, Ethan and Valara ceased to be separate entities, their minds merged, sharing not just thoughts but entire lifetimes of memories and experiences. Through Valara's eyes, Ethan saw the rise and fall of civilizations across millennia. He witnessed the moment her people discovered the true purpose of the temples, not just repositories of knowledge, but warning beacons scattered across the galaxy. Through his mind, Valara experienced humanity's relentless drive to explore and understand, their capacity for both destruction and extraordinary compassion. The heart's message unfolded in their shared consciousness with crystal clarity. The shadow was no mere cosmic phenomenon. It was conscious, ancient, and patient. It had devoured countless civilizations, growing stronger with each world it consumed. Now it had set its sights on both Earth and Valara's homeworld. "The temples," Ethan gasped as the vision clarified. "They're not just buildings, they're weapons." "No," Valara corrected, her mind intertwined with his. "They're keys. The ancestors built them as part of a vast network, a defense system spanning the galaxy. But activating it requires something unprecedented, the unified consciousness of two different species." The heart pulsed stronger, showing them more. The shadow had encountered this defense before, in ages past. It had learned to target civilizations before they could achieve the unity necessary to activate the temple network. It kept them isolated, suspicious, turned their differences into reasons for conflict rather than strength. "That's why the temple responded to us," Ethan realized. "We're not just compatible, we're necessary. Your people's wisdom and connection to the ancient ways, humanity's innovation and adaptability. Neither civilization could face this threat alone." The vision shifted, showing them a sequence of actions that needed to be performed, a complex dance of technology and biology that would awaken the temple network. But the cost would be enormous. "The energy required to activate the network," Valara said, her mental voice tight with concern. "It would drain the heart completely. My people would lose their connection to the ancestors, all our stored knowledge. And the power surge would fry every piece of advanced technology on Earth," Ethan added, seeing the calculations play out in their shared consciousness. "We'd be thrown back centuries in development." The heart's light dimmed slightly, allowing them to see each other clearly. Valara's stellar eyes met his, filled with understanding and determination. "Perhaps that's the final test," she said. "Are we willing to sacrifice our advantages, start again from nothing, to ensure our survival?" A distant rumble shook the chamber, and the heart's light flickered ominously. Through their connected minds, they both felt it, the shadow's approach. It had sensed the temple's awakening and was coming to stop them. "How long do we have?" Ethan asked, though he could see the answer in their shared thoughts. "Hours, at most," Valara replied. "The shadow moves between stars like we move between rooms. Once it arrives, it will consume everything, the temple, our worlds, all we know and love." They separated from the heart's energy field, their minds becoming individual again though maintaining a faint connection. The loss felt like losing a limb, but the knowledge they had gained remained. "We need to warn them," Ethan said, his mind racing with possibilities. "Both our peoples need to understand what's coming, what we'll lose, what we'll face afterward." Valara's armor pulsed with renewed purpose. "There's no time for debate or diplomacy. The shadow knows we've discovered the truth, it will accelerate its plans. We must act now." The chamber shuddered again, more violently this time. Above them, through the infinite ceiling, the stars seemed to dim one by one, as if being swallowed by an approaching darkness. "The sequence we saw," Ethan said, moving to one of the chamber's control interfaces. "It requires both of us, working in perfect synchronization. One mistake and we'll lose our chance forever." Valara joined him, her armor interfacing with the temple's systems. "Then we won't make mistakes. The heart showed us what we can achieve together. Trust in that." They began the activation sequence, their movements perfectly coordinated thanks to their lingering mental connection. The temple responded, its energy patterns shifting, aligning with something vast and invisible spanning the galaxy. But as they worked, the darkness above grew closer. The air itself seemed to thicken, becoming heavy with dread. The shadow was approaching faster than they had anticipated, drawn by their activities like a predator to wounded prey. "Ethan," Valara said softly, never pausing in her work, "if we fail." "We won't," he interrupted, his hands dancing over the controls. "But if we do, I want you to know that meeting you, learning about your people, sharing this connection, it's worth whatever comes next." A smile curved her lips, making her stellar eyes shine brighter. "For someone from a supposedly primitive species, you understand more than most of my kind ever did." The sequence was nearly complete. Around them, the temple thrummed with power, ready to transmit the activation signal to its siblings across the galaxy. Above, the darkness had consumed almost all the visible stars. They were out of time. The final choice lay before them: unleash the temple's power and forever change both their civilizations, or face the shadow with what they had. As one, they reached for the final control, their hands meeting over the activation crystal. The fate of two worlds hung on their next action, and the shadow's darkness was about to reach the temple. The shadow struck just as their hands touched the activation crystal. The temple's infinite ceiling shattered, raining crystalline shards as darkness poured into the chamber like liquid void. The temperature plummeted, and the very air seemed to crack with cosmic frost. "Now!" Valara shouted, her armor blazing with light to hold back the encroaching darkness. Together, they pressed the crystal into its housing, their combined touch completing the circuit that would change everything. The heart of the temple erupted with blinding radiance, pushing back against the shadow's assault. Energy coursed through both of them, their lingering mental connection amplifying the temple's power. Through that connection, they felt the other temples awakening across the galaxy, a chain reaction of ancient defenses stirring to life. The shadow recoiled, its darkness coalescing into a form that defied comprehension, a void given consciousness, hunger given shape. Its voice, when it came, bypassed their ears and spoke directly to their souls. "Foolish children," it resonated, "you understand nothing. I am inevitable. I am the end of all things." Ethan gripped the crystal tighter, feeling Valara's strength flowing into him through their connection. "No," he declared, "you're just another force of nature. And nature can be understood, can be changed. You've consumed countless civilizations," Valara added, her stellar eyes blazing, "but you've never faced two species working as one. Our differences are our strength." The heart's energy continued to build, its light spreading through the temple's structure. The shadow pressed against it, trying to smother the growing power, but wherever darkness touched light, the void was forced to retreat. Through their shared consciousness, Ethan and Valara began to understand the true nature of the temple's defense. It wasn't a weapon in the conventional sense, it was a transformer, a tool for evolving consciousness itself. The ancestors hadn't built it to destroy the shadow, but to change it, to bring balance to a force that had known only consumption. The network isn't just connecting the temples, Ethan realized, it's connecting all of us. Every conscious being in the galaxy. Valera nodded, understanding flowing between them. Unity on a scale the shadow cannot comprehend. Not just between our two species, but all species. The one thing it never expected, life working in harmony. The shadow writhed, its darkness fragmenting as the temple network's power reached its peak. The void began to fill with points of light, like stars being born in the depths of space. The heart's energy surged through them one final time, and in that moment, they shared a vision of what was to come. They saw their civilizations rebuilding in the aftermath, not separately but together. The loss of technology in ancient knowledge would be balanced by the gains in understanding between species. New cities would rise, combining human innovation with Valerian wisdom. The temple network would remain, not as a weapon but as a bridge between all conscious beings. The shadow's form began to transform, its darkness shot through with threads of light. Its voice came again, but different now, no longer threatening, but filled with something like wonder. I understand. It resonated, its form continuing to change. I am not the end. I am transformation. The surge of power reached its crescendo. Ethan and Valera held each other as waves of energy rolled through the chamber. Around them, the temple's structure began to shift, its ancient form adapting to the new reality they had helped create. When the light finally faded, they found themselves standing in a changed world. The temple had transformed, its crystalline walls are now a fusion of technology and organic growth. Through the restored ceiling, they could see stars shining more brightly than ever before. It's done, Valera said softly, her armor now permanently altered by the temple's power, showing patterns that matched the transformed structure around them. Our worlds will never be the same. Ethan looked at his hands, feeling the lingering connection to both Valera and the greater consciousness they had helped create. They'll be better, he said. Different, but better. They emerged from the temple to find the crimson forest transformed. The trees pulsed with new life, their bioluminescence synchronized with the temple's rhythm. In the distance, they could see ships descending, both human and Valerian vessels, drawn together by the change they had initiated. What happens now? Ethan asked, though their shared connection had already shown him glimpses of possible futures. Valera took his hand, her stellar eyes reflecting the light of their transformed worlds. Now we build something new. Together. As guardians not just of the temple, but of this new connection between all conscious beings. Together, Ethan agreed, squeezing her hand as they watched their people's ships approach. I think I can live with that. Above them, the stars shone with renewed vigor, and where the shadow had been, new constellations were forming, a reminder that even the darkest forces could be transformed by understanding and unity. Their journey had begun with fear and suspicion, but it had ended with something remarkable, hope for a future neither of their species could have imagined alone. In the years that followed, the story of the human scientist and the Valerian warrior who had changed the galaxy would be told and retold. But those who knew them best understood that their greatest achievement wasn't saving their worlds from the shadow, it was showing that the barriers between species were illusions, and that in unity lay the greatest power of all. The Temple of Ascension stood as a testament to their legacy, its transformed structure a symbol of what could be achieved when different civilizations chose to face the unknown together. And in its heart, the combined wisdom of two worlds pulsed on, lighting the way for generations to come.